The Matrix Revolutions pushed the boundaries of cinema with its explosive battle sequences, groundbreaking visual effects, and intense emotional stakes. From Zion's desperate last stand to Neo's ultimate sacrifice, the making of these scenes was an epic production of practical sets, animatronic rigs, pyrotechnics, and cutting-edge CGI. And in today's video, we're gonna step behind the camera to see how these unforgettable moments were brought to life. We begin our behind-the-scenes journey with perhaps the most iconic moment in the Matrix Revolutions, the ultimate face-off between Neo and Agent Smith. The sequence unfolds in a rain-drenched street as thunder roars and two forces of destiny collide in their final battle. To bring this epic fight to life, the filmmakers constructed a full-scale street set complete with towering buildings and rain machines that poured water continuously. The rain wasn't digital, it was real, and it soaked every frame, adding texture and weight to the visuals. Every drop hitting the ground, every splash off a punch gave the fight a gritty, tactile realism. Both Keanu Reeves and Hugo Weaving pushed themselves to the limit, performing the majority of the action themselves. For gravity-defying moments like soaring through the sky or being hurled across the street, wire rigs and carefully trained stunt doubles stepped in. To create the illusion of Smith's endless army watching the duel, extras were fitted with Hugo Weaving masks, while fiberglass mannequins dressed in black suits were lined up across the set. With clever lighting and rain streaking across the senses, the blend of real performers and dummies became almost impossible to spot. Every punch, kick, and collision was choreographed and rehearsed to perfection. The rain itself became part of the choreography. When fists connected, water splashed dramatically, amplified later by digital VFX to make each impact feel larger than life. While many of the clashes were filmed directly on the rain-soaked set, wire work also allowed Neo and Smith's mid-air brawls to be captured before being composited into stormy digital skies. For the full airborne fight, the makers used special moving gimbals attached to the actors with harnesses. These rigs allowed Reeves and Weaving to twist, spin, and clash while suspended in midair, giving their movements a raw physicality before any CGI was added. These performances were later blended with digital backgrounds of lightning-filled skies and collapsing city blocks, pushing the fight into a mythic scale. Now let's talk about one of the biggest challenges in the Matrix Revolutions, creating Agent Smith's massive clone army. We've all seen it on screen, thousands of Smiths standing together watching Neo's final fight. But here's the twist, it wasn't just CGI doing the heavy lifting. The filmmakers actually combined old-school practical effects with cutting-edge digital tricks to pull it off. It all started with Hugo Weaving's face. The crew created a life cast of his head using alginate and plaster, capturing every tiny detail of his features. From that, a positive sculpture was made, which was then refined into a perfect master copy. This became the base reference for building dozens of Smith lookalikes. Technicians took that mold and produced silicone rubber casts. On top of that, they built strong fiberglass shells reinforced with resin. These hollow dummies were lightweight, making it easy for the crew to move and reposition them between shots. But just having mannequins wasn't enough. They had to look alive. Each dummy was carefully sanded, painted, and airbrushed to give the skin a realistic finish. Then came the wigs, the signature sunglasses, and of course, Smith's iconic black suit. Some mannequins even had simple mechanical fittings inside so their heads could tilt slightly, adding subtle movement to the background. On set, these mannequins were placed alongside extras who wore custom Hugo Weaving face masks. When filmed together under pouring rain, dim lighting, and with reflections bouncing off the sunglasses, it became nearly impossible to tell the difference between the real actors and the fakes. Later, in post-production, digital face replacements and CGI crowd extensions were layered on top, creating that endless wall of Smiths. The result? A clone army so convincing that even today it stands as one of the most iconic visuals in the Matrix franchise. For the largest crowd shots, the filmmakers used around 80 extras and stunt doubles, all suited up as Agent Smith with identical costumes, sunglasses, and face masks. This gave the scene a solid practical foundation before CGI was added. You can even spot this in behind-the-scenes footage where rows of Smith doubles stand shoulder to shoulder waiting for the cameras to roll. This clever mix, mannequins, masked extras, and digital effects make the Smith army look vast, intimidating, and totally believable. It's a perfect example of how practical filmmaking and CGI can work together to create movie magic. Before Neo's final confrontation, Trinity, Morpheus, and Seraph confront a Merovingian to free Neo. Their path is blocked by heavily armed guards, leading to an intense martial arts fight inside Club Hell. The entire sequence was filmed on a specially constructed underground nightclub set at Sydney's Fox Studios. Inspired by Gothic industrial design, the set allowed for a Hong Kong-style fight choreography mixed with wire stunts. The fight required guards and heroes to run up walls, flip through the air, and battle upside down. This was achieved with heavy wire rigs and harnesses. The rigging crew mapped out camera-safe paths for the wires and coordinated stunts with dolly and crane shots. Every move was rehearsed repeatedly to sync timing, light reflections, and camera movements. Carrie Ann Moss and Lawrence Fishburne insisted on performing most of their stunts, enduring multiple takes in tight, wire-filled spaces. The Gothic costumes and set design helped hide rigging, while post-production digitally erased wires, leaving only seamless, gravity-defying combat. This sequence, with its blend of martial arts, wire-fu, and stylized cinematography, became one of the most striking action scenes in the trilogy, perfectly setting up Neo's final destiny. Now friends, let's talk about one of the most ambitious and technically challenging sequences ever created for the Matrix Revolutions, the desperate Battle of Zion. In the climax, thousands upon thousands of Sentinels tear through the underground tunnels and storm the dock, while Zion's last line of defense, soldiers in massive exosuits called APUs, unleash relentless gunfire in a final stand. Behind the scenes, bringing this colossal sequence to life required a groundbreaking blend of practical set building and cutting-edge CGI. The production team constructed a gigantic multi-level dock set complete with towering catwalks, elevators, and metal platforms. This wasn't just for show. It gave the actors and stunt performers a real environment to interact with, making the chaos feel tangible on screen. Of course, the swarms of Sentinels were entirely digital, but to help ground the performances, the crews sometimes placed physical modules and lightweight dummy rigs on set. This allowed actors to react to actual objects instead of fighting empty air, adding a natural weight to their performances. The armored exosuits, or APUs, were another major challenge. Instead of leaving everything to CGI, the filmmakers designed real cockpit rigs mounted on 6-axis motion bases. Actors physically sat inside these cockpits, gripping joysticks and firing imaginary weapons. Hydraulic systems then translated their movements into realistic shakes and jolts, so that when these performances were later merged with the CGI exosuit bodies, the integration felt seamless. Everything around the factor, the cockpit, the controls, and even the vibrations was practical, while the towering APU frames and weaponry were computer generated. And then the most terrifying weapon of them all, the massive drilling machine that tears through Zion's ceiling. For this, the team used a combination of techniques. A highly detailed miniature of the drill was built and filmed with motion control cameras to capture its intricate design and movement. Alongside this, a full CGI version was created for the large-scale destruction shot. When the drill broke through the dock, real pyrotechnics, practical sparks, and hydraulic rigs shook the massive set, creating the illusion of a collapsing ceiling right above the actors' heads. To complete the siege, visual effects artists generated digital doubles of soldiers and dozens of APUs, so the scale of the battle felt endless. For the swarms of sentinels, they developed advanced particle systems and procedural animation to simulate organic yet chaotic movement. Gunfire tracers, explosions, and smoke layers were added to every frame. The result was breathtaking. A sequence where practical effects and CGI blended so seamlessly that it still stands as one of the most intense and unforgettable war scenes in science fiction cinema. In The Matrix Revolutions, we briefly meet two brave women of Zion, Z and Chara, ordinary citizens who step up to defend their city during the desperate battle. Armed with a rocket launcher, they fight side by side against the overwhelming swarm of sentinels. Behind the scenes, their sequence was filmed using a clever mix of green screen and small practical setups. Instead of a giant battlefield, the actresses stood on a minimal platform surrounded by green panels. Their courage and intensity had to sell the illusion, and both Nona Gay, Z, and Rachel Blackman Chara delivered powerful performances, channeling the desperation of Zion's last stand. Later, visual effects artists composited the sentinel swarms, explosions, and collapsing dock environment around them. What we see in the final cut is a short but unforgettable moment of ordinary people rising to become heroes. Towards the climax, Niobe pilots the ship Hammer through gate number 3, smashing through as the massive doors barely open in time. It's a blink and you'll miss it scene, but the filmmakers refused to leave it entirely to CGI. Instead, they built a scaled-down version ship model and mounted it on a custom track. With carefully timed practical effects and control camera angles, they created the illusion of a colossal ship scraping and crashing its way through steel gates. While Zion fights for survival, Neo and Trinity head toward the Machine City. At the same time, Morpheus and Niobe are aboard the Hammer, racing through narrow tunnels to deliver a crucial EMP blast that might save Zion. This sequence is all about Niobe's skill as the city's best pilot. To bring her daring maneuvers to life, the crew didn't rely solely on CGI flight paths. Instead, they built a rectangular cockpit set and mounted it on a massive hydraulic gimbal, essentially a moving platform that could tilt, shake, and rotate. Jada Pinkett Smith physically sat inside, gripping the controls as the cockpit violently pitched and rolled. This gave her performance an authentic weight as her body truly reacted to the motion. Later, visual effects filled in the dizzying tunnels and chasing sentinels, blending seamlessly with the live-action cockpit footage. As the Zion battle rages, Neo finally reaches the Machine City and comes face to face with its leader, the Deus Ex Machina, a massive AI represented as a shifting mechanical face. Here, Neo makes his ultimate deal. If the machines end their attack on Zion, he will enter the Matrix one last time and destroy Smith, who's become a threat to both humans and machines alike. For this scene, the Machine City and the Deus Ex Machina itself were entirely CGI creations. However, to ground Neo in the environment, practical floor sections and a physical console were built for Keanu Reeves to interact with. When Neo connects to the Matrix, Reeves was suspended on wires in a harness, simulating the weightless sacrificial moment of plugging in. His performance carried the emotional weight, while the digital artist surrounded him with an awe-inspiring mechanical world. And that wraps up our behind-the-scenes journey into the Matrix Revolutions. From practical rain machines to massive gimbal rigs, from handcrafted miniatures to groundbreaking CGI, Every frame was built with a mix of old-school craftsmanship and futuristic technology. If you enjoyed diving deep into the making of the Matrix Revolutions, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss more epic behind-the-scenes stories like this. And let me know in the comments which Matrix moment blew your mind the most.